Hello, everybody. It is day 62 of 365 days of my raw suspending disbelief journey. It is June 24th, 2024. And today I was still feeling a lot of electrons, and just trying to accept and roll with it and um, allow myself to feel when I could. I have not fully had a lot of time to process emotionally. So I had today, my daughter's father did manage to make it into the detox center without further calamity. And um, my daughter was driven home by his ex, and she ended up coming and like I had literally just sat down to work when she showed up and dropped my daughter off and sat and we ended up talking for a couple of hours, which was unfortunate timing as far as I needed to get some work done. But it was also a needed conversation. And the things that came to light were important. So there's been some very disappointing um, things that have come through as far as discovering some of the dishonesty that has been going on for a really long time, discovering the um, more of the patterns, the lies, the manipulations, all kinds of things. And as well as, just hearing the details of what had happened over the last couple of days, including, and I'm just going to specify this one because I was so, so proud of her when I heard this. Um, my daughter's not very outspoken. She struggles to say no, right? Things like this. And I will take some of the blame for that. Part of it is personality, but part of it is because when I first, like my oldest, when I first started parenting, I was parenting from the old paradigm of how I was raised. And this is not a matter of me guilt tripping myself. It's just a matter of I expected her, I treated her in the same way and expected the same types of things of her, as far as, the sit down, shut up, be quiet, like you, your opinion doesn't matter as much, like all of these kinds of things. And those sound really harsh. Of course, I never said those words, but that was sort of the um, way that I was raised, the way uh, that I just knew how, like that was all I knew of parenting. Was just being very, very demanding, very, I was the oldest child and so was she, right? And um, yeah, a lot was put on my shoulders as a kid and a lot was put on her shoulders from a young age. And especially with my ex, there was so much put on her, um, beyond what I even did, as far as like expectations go and all of these things. So this poor girl has had a lot of backward thinking, right, implanted into her over the years, and we're working on now and have been for several years now undoing a lot of that. So, anyways, back to my point. The night before, apparently he had tried to leave the hotel room, go get some more alcohol, do whatever, like really, he's not in a good frame of mind, right? And his ex was sitting there like, you can't do this, you need to come back to bed, and she's trying to convince him, and everything that she said, nothing was making him listen. And apparently Cadence got up and said, Dad, like, you can't do this. You have to get back in bed. You have to stay here. You can, and repeated the same things that his ex had said. And he listened to her. And I was just so freaking proud of her. So there's been a lot of up and down. There has been there was a lot of, I really and truly love honesty. I love to an extreme extent. I don't like the blinders. I don't like not knowing, like, that sounds like something, well, of course, nobody likes that, but not really, actually. A lot of people would prefer not to know. They'd prefer to just be comfortable in their discomfort, right? Or they prefer to be, to like keep things in a stasis, right? Not change anything. And for me, I would always rather know the truth. I would always rather deal with whatever the fallout of the truth is. I would always rather, no matter the feelings, no matter how hard it is, no matter if it makes relationships fall apart, nothing. There's no time ever that I don't. And I always think that there is always a way that it can be told without um, being cruel, right? And a lot of us are not very practiced at that. And I still prefer, even if it comes out cruelly, even if it comes out in a hurtful way, I still prefer the truth. And then to sort of do a little bit of makeup work to try to fix any hurt feelings. If that is the only way for the truth to come out, I'd prefer that. So all of that to say, there was, there was a lot of pain that came with those lies, but there was also a lot of relief at knowing the truth. There was frustration and anger and all kinds of emotions coming out, but at the same time, there was both sides. There was that duality that I talk about all the time, right? There was the relief of just like, now we're all on the same page and the truth is out there and now we can move forward. And it turned out that, like, for a lot of years, he's been playing myself as Cadence's mom and his ex as, like, basically stepmom against each other. When, we could have been working together as a team. And that's really unfortunate. So now, though, we get to move forward under that understanding and knowing that we're not working against each other, even though they're not together anymore. She has always been in Cadence's life, and I don't want her to not be, and neither did Cadence. And it was only him that didn't want her to be. And it turned out it was because he hadn't actually broken up with her, and so he hadn't actually told her anything. And there was just so many things that came up, and I don't mean this to be like a bitching and complaining podcast. I don't want that. I just want to show like the extremity of how negative and crappy things can be, and we can still see the flip side of it. And the flip side is that we get to now create a beautiful relationship. And pardon me, my throat has been really bothering me. Really fighting, hoping to not get sick. But yeah, we get to now move forward having a relationship and not having this the nasty thoughts that have been implanted in our heads about each other that we naturally wouldn't have thought, right? There's just so much that came out. And so there is a lot of grief and anger and all of those feelings that do need to be processed, and that does take time. But at the same time, I get to look at it and just be like, I'm so grateful. Like, I am so grateful that this has all finally come out. And some of the lies that he told not only his ex but my daughter about me over the years, and understanding on a deeper level why she and I have struggled in our relationship, and how he would say things about how he wanted to help in whatever way possible for us to have the best relationship possible, me and my daughter, and that he knew that it was a struggle because, he had her on weekends and it was fun time, and with me it was always serious time, and so he wanted to kind of balance that whenever he could and help out and this and that. But in all reality, he was turning her against me also. He was telling her things that made her think less of me, that had her respecting me less, that had, all of these things, and they came out today, and it was just an emotional dumping, and all of us in shock, and all of these things that kind of came out, and it was just like, holy cow. And I know that for his ex, she's just newly finding out that she's his ex, so he has been dragging her along for so long. So she's devastated right now. She's struggling. Um, my daughter is seeing her dad in a whole different light. He was like God to her. He was perfect. He was, amazing, all of these things. And I never did anything to counteract that. No matter what frustrations I had with him, I never ever tried to take that away from her because I thought that's how it should be. That's her dad. She should just adore him, love him. She doesn't need to know all the flaws, all the faults, all the, whatever. And I still stand by that as, especially when she was younger, that it was not the way to go to be complaining about him. That would not have fixed anything. It would have, even if it was the truth, it was not age appropriate kind of thing. And so I always told her the truth, but I would omit when it came to my daughter because I was like, you're too young, you're too, whatever. And if a question was directly asked, I always answered it, and I always answered it honestly. But she never asked about a lot of these things because she just had no idea. And um, more recently, with him going into rehab with the first time and getting sober and all of these things, a lot of this stuff came to light because she was really confused, like what the hell was going on. And so it had to come out a little bit of like he's had addiction issues in the past with drugs and with now alcohol and these things and the other, and because she was hiding things for him, trying to protect her dad, and it ended up coming out like he's hurting himself and you need to let me know so that I can help, not hide it for him. It's not about not getting your dad in trouble. And and this was a year and a half ago now when all of that was happening. And so there was a lot of wake up calls for her then, but she still didn't understand the full extent of it because I didn't want to traumatize her. I didn't want to terrify her. I didn't, all of these things. And um then it came to the point more recently when he made an attempt on his life where I needed to be more open with her and let her know more details and help her to understand because hmm, she needed to know the why so desperately. She wanted to know why he would possibly do this because he's the most outwardly jovial person you'll ever meet. He seems like he's doing great, right? And that's in large part due to the alcohol. So he's almost always drunk and therefore playful and laughing and loud and boisterous and all of these things. And um, that's just how it manifested for him, how it showed up for him, right? And so that's how she always knew him. And to go then, well, like how's he depressed? How is there this, like the things don't add up. So there was a lot of understanding that had to come in. And we had to get really real and talk about like the extent of all of this and how long it had been going on for and the depth, there was so many more levels to it. And we had decided that she was old enough now. She's 13. Like she knows about the world enough. They're doing sex ed in school. They talk about the drugs and alcohol. All of these things. It's not stuff that she's never heard of before. So it's not quite as traumatizing as it would have been even a couple of years ago. But so we decided that she would be um, fully informed, I guess, is the way to put it, and not, you know, again, not in a way that I'm bashing her dad or not in a way that all of these things, but it's just, um, it was becoming such an issue and she still was, siding with him kind of in everything. She was very like, no, he's perfect, right? Like she just had this God image of him. And, um, it wasn't about breaking that, but it was about the reality and that she needed to know that these things are actually that much of a problem. So anyways, we started informing her. And when it came to the suicide stuff, it was like, ugh, you, mm, you had to, especially when it became multiple attempts, when it was, repeated, and when it started turning into manipulation even, and with that, and I had to go so in depth in these conversations with her, and there've been some really fucking hard conversations around that already. And he had been sober for about 10 months when the depression and the anxiety became too much, and he started falling into the suicidal aspect of things. And um, he started drinking again because he was not handling the emotions and needing to bury those emotions. And at this point now, when he drinks, he's just about killing himself. His body is rejecting it, and when he detoxes, his body is shutting down, and all of these things. And it's so heartbreaking because none of us knew it was that bad. But it's also really frustrating because it's like we've all done so much to try to be there, and it feels like a betrayal. It feels like, a slap in the face that it could have gotten this bad. And it's not to, I'm not trying to take it personally. I'm not trying to um have it be anything about me situation, or anything about her, or anything about anybody. But that is what it feels like, is a slap in the face when everybody's just been so there for him. And um anyway, so I sent her down to Calgary, going like, she needs to see the truth, because at this point, if he dies, I don't want him to die and leave her with a million questions, not understanding why, and not being sure if she can really believe the stories she's being told, because she never saw it for herself, and not having a chance to come to terms with who he truly is, and how he's truly been, and the things that he's truly done before he goes, so that she can, if she needs to, have conversations with him, right? So that she can um, tell him how she feels, and so that she can have apologies given, and all of the things. And um, that way, and it sounds so cold to say, but if he does pass away, if he does die, then she's not left for the rest of her life going, what if, what if, what if, and with all of these unresolved issues. And I've had to be really blunt with him about that, saying, like, you're at this point and she needs to have this chance, and you owe her that. And I hope that that isn't what it comes down to, but if it is, I'm not taking that chance. And so she saw some really awful things, and she has not had time to process, and school is still not out. And it's just like, anyway, so much stuff came out. Again, she's trying to process. She just wanted to see her boyfriend. She was like, can he just come over and, be here with me? And she didn't even want a hug from me because she didn't want to cry, and all of these things. And, I was like, okay, we're going to have a day of not seeing trauma, and getting to experience just not having to process a whole bunch of heavy shit, and just having fun with your boyfriend, and, playing video games and doing whatever. And we will move forward the next day, and go from there. And um anyway, it has been holy fuck electrons. And it has been, and then I had, actually, it just continued, right? So I had that couple of hours where we sat there talking, the three of us, mostly just myself and his ex, but Cadence was in and out of the conversation. And then I had to get some food into a slow cooker, and then I had to go pick up my son, and then things were just go, go, go. And as soon as my kids were in bed, now her dad's dad, grandpa, called and wanted to have a chat, and we were on the phone for 45 minutes about it, and just so that everybody's on the same page, because at this point he has manipulated us so much that we all have to stay in regular contact in order to be able to um, hold our ground, sort of, uh, and know where we're at. And I'm really grateful that there are a few of us like this who are working together to do that, but it can be very time consuming. And um, And especially after an emotionally draining day, to talk more about it, hear more perspective, hear more lies, hear, that had come out. And it was just like, oh my gosh. So I had that conversation and then I just shut down. I watched a couple of stupid YouTube videos. I listened to a meditation. I had a super long salt and bubble bath and just sat there and was like, I'm done. And I wasn't even really processing emotions still. It was still just too, like, I don't know, I hadn't broken through that hump. And I had, I just let myself do that. I just let myself just have time just to not have to process. And same thing with what my daughter wanted with seeing her boyfriend was just like, I just want to just have time. I just want to just feel okay right now and not be stressed and not be, and that's okay. And so, um, I didn't have a lot of choice in how I felt for most of the day, but I was able to choose to feel what I wanted at that point and to bring myself back to how I want to be feeling because that's what I'm creating in my life. And I can do that for an hour, 2 hours, like stayed in that hot bath until it was cold kind of thing and just soaked and let it all rinse off of me and drain out of me and leave my system so that I could have a good night's sleep tonight. And um, it's just knowing that, that 45-minute window of talking to his dad, I could have been working. That 2-hour window of talking to his ex, I could have been working. And there's so many of these like pieces that feel like they're pulling me like you should be, you should be, you should be. And I always tell everybody all the time, and I tell myself, stop shooting on yourself because there's no right answer. And when it comes to the traumas and the emotions and the struggles that are going on right now, these are real life legitimate problems. They're not me being lazy and not working. They're not me not caring about my clients. They're not, any of that. It's just there's no other options right now, and that's okay. And I get to put off processing all of that trauma until tomorrow and put off working until tomorrow. And I still will get to have the success. I still will get to have the experiences that I want to create. Um, and, and just go from there. Right. And knowing my success is inevitable. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is all part of the process of the things that are not in alignment falling away so that I can have what is in alignment. I believe that with my full body, mind, heart, soul, all of it. This is the shitty stuff falling away, the lies that have been going on for so long falling away, coming to light so that we can live in full authenticity and truth and be in alignment and have these healthy, balanced lives. And I can't say that there will be no more drama or no more trauma coming from that direction, but so many bridges have been broken now that it is now more safe in my body as far as like my feelings go for me to say that there's a hard wall and I'm not going to be there to support any further. Like it is the end of all of that. And um, for for the foreseeable future. I don't know that he could ever change that at this point. Maybe he could if he were to clean up his life and change a whole lot of stuff. Um, and I'm not waiting for that. This is now 23 years of this, and it's time for it to be done. And it's been time for it to be done for a long time. And there's been just too many balls in the air that were out of my control where I couldn't completely release this, i.e. my daughter, it's her father. And so it was like, I couldn't just be like, you don't need to be in my life. You don't need to be, there's no like energetic crossing of boundaries or any of these things, right? Because I had to interact with him still. I had to, and I say had to, but also I was still under the illusion of a lot of those lies. And so I know that I've said it in previous episodes. This is one of my best friends. And he has been, and yet now I'm like, was any of that real? Right? So there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of really hard stuff that is going to be coming up, but I still get to rise. I still get to be receiving. I still get to have my success, and he doesn't get to delay that anymore. So that's where we're at. I hope that there are some lessons in these things that I'm sharing for you guys, and that I'm not just like soggy cornflake sounding all the time right now, because that is what my life feels like a lot right now. But I also know that, again, it's for a reason. And so I'm just doing my best to hold up under it and be there when I can as far as my business goes, be there 100% for my kids because they're needing extra from me right now, especially Cadence, and then being there for myself and allowing that to be all that I can do, if that's all that I can do. And having that be okay. And again, just knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be. So I hope that that helps somebody to be able to know that what they've got going on that's not allowing them to do the things that they desire, that they think are going to create their success. I hope that that allows you, if that's you, to know that it's okay to stop, that it's okay to just need to feel, need to be there for family, need to be there for life shit that comes up, and that your success still gets to come in. And I guarantee you, even though I'm not like, I have no hard evidence of that in these last few episodes that have been so much trauma and so much struggle, I guarantee you that those things are coming, and that that success is going to start shining through again, because now we're passing through the last of the electrons. I'm calling that in. I'm claiming that this is the last of it. And I know that there will be some emotional processing and stuff going forward, but as far as like major, massive, traumatic electrons go, I'm claiming that that's finished. That's done. We're done with that. We're moving on. So promises of great things to come. And I can't wait to start telling you guys all about the neutrons and the protons and all of the good parts that are coming, because they are. And I believe that with every ounce of my being, despite all of this. And I hope that you do too. So I will talk to you all tomorrow.